Hashem Hashem Naaseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We are back here on our Wednesday night shiur, Stump the Rabbi, where after a little bit of Divrei Torah, B'ezrat Hashem, you guys will ask some questions and Kadosh Baruch Hu, B'ezrat Hashem, will give us answers. Tonight's shiur will be for Ilui Nishmat Gavriel ben Mazal, and Le'avdil also for a refuah shlema for Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Ravi Mori David ben Nesria, Imi Morati Doris bat Jora, and also for a Atzlacha Rabba for Marsha bat Julie, Ayla bat Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, Louis ben Marsha, Shaul ben Farzane, Amir ben Shahin, and all of Am Yisrael and all of the righteous Noahide, especially those of you that have been contributing generously over the years, and even more so now with the campaign that we have for helping the poor tzaddikim in Eretz Yisrael, especially focus on the avrechim in Eretz Yisrael. So, brief update, what's going on. We, Baruch Hashem, distributed the cards, and it's been an extraordinary experience, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But Baruch Hashem, it definitely got to thousands and thousands of people. We're estimating probably somewhere close to 10,000 people, 8 to 10,000 people were fed, Baruch Hashem. But a lot happened that enticed us to do even more, which we'll discuss tonight. For anybody that hasn't given, which is a halacha, this is not a custom, this is an halacha that a person that's celebrating Pesach has to make sure, as we discussed in the shiur on Sunday, has to make sure before this holiday to give to the poor. We have a Kimcha de Pischa, which is 100% of what's being donated is being given to poor avrechim, which is a special ma'ala, a special significance to the way we've done it, which B'ezrat Hashem will also discuss. But anyone that hasn't given yet should go to bhpesach.org. B as in Be'ezrat, H as in Hashem, Pesach is P as in Pesach, SACH.org. And if you're a Spanish speaker, then .net. You can go, and it's all in Spanish over there. And you could donate over there, B'ezrat Hashem. I'll donate. You could help a family for the Seder. You could help a family for the entire holiday. Or you could just do whatever your heart desires. The only thing is that you have to make sure that you watch the shiur we did on Sunday, which is that the obligation, the Rambam says, in regards to giving, is not just to give whatever you feel like it, but actually whatever you can, which is a world apart. Whatever you feel like it may be $20. Whatever you feel like it may be $30. But whatever you can may be $20,000 or $10,000 or $1,000. And a person that's stingy with giving tzedakah to the poor is a person that's putting himself in danger, according to the Rambam and the Zohar and many things we discussed on Sunday. So again, this you don't have to give to us. You can give to any organization that you think is doing the right job. I think we're doing a better job than anybody else that I know, and we'll discuss some of those things tonight, B'ezrat Hashem, and you tell me what you think. But B'ezrat Hashem, this is something that we had a big merit to be a part of, and in the process saved some of the most important lives, literal lives of people that are important to us, Baruch Hashem, which again we'll discuss that too. Now, aside from that, we have our big event, our next big event scheduled here in South Florida for the 27th of April. A little bit of news for everybody that's planning to come. B'ezrat Hashem, hopefully many of you planning to come. The location is going to change. We're still trying to finalize the location, but B'ezrat Hashem, we should be able to do that very soon. But the location is going to change. The Kadosh Baruch Hu loves to give us different interesting tests, and apparently the Bonaventure Resort, which is an enormous resort, apparently has been sold. And although we signed a contract with them, the the owner doesn't really care, and simply is voiding the contract, I guess, with us, and along, I'm assuming, with other people, caring less about their responsibility and adding their name to the list of thousands of people that I've dealt with in my life that cannot do what they promised they're going to do. Not even doing what they're above what they're supposed to do, but simply, you said A, just do A. You said B, just do B. I've been young and I've been old, as David Melech says, but on my end, I've been young and I've been older, and I've never found a single person, a single entity that I could tell you is an ethical entity to do business with. Every single time I've dealt with somebody, there's always something that comes up at some point or another. Sometimes it starts off bad right away. Sometimes it starts off good and then turns bad. It's just almost people have no ability to deliver what they say they can, unless they're tzaddikim, which unfortunately the tzaddikim that I've met are typically people that are working with us, and we're helping them. And rather than people that we're doing business with, so it's a little bit different. But yet the regular people that I've dealt with, both Jews, non-Jews, I've yet to meet somebody that's reliable. But anyway, to keep it short, the location is going to change. We'll have to find a different event center. We've spoken to several places over the last 24 hours, since we literally just found out in the last 24 hours. But Bezrat Hashem, we'll find something that will be just as suitable as the last one is. But it's amazing that the Yetzer Hara has to literally send somebody to buy an entire resort. An entire resort. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars just to get in the way of us doing our little shiur. It's something unbelievable. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. We have, Baruch Hashem, we're just a couple of days away from Pesach. Really, the next 24 hours, the holiday is at full force already, simply because tomorrow night is the Bdikat Chametz, where we have to check for the chametz. Of course, we were supposed to check for the chametz that's internally, the bad character traits, the horrible midot that each one of us have at different times, where we lose control, we get too angry, we get to this, we get to that. Some people have to literally wipe out their whole brain altogether because it's full of desires and filth and immorality and garbage. And some people have to fix something that everybody knows is a problem because they always complain about it. He's always angry, he's always stingy, he thinks he's better than everybody else. Everybody has something. Sometimes a person is too self-conscious and says, I'm sorry, every second word in a sentence. That also is not good. Sometimes a person is too gullible and just falls for every trap under the sun. Sometimes a person accuses everybody of being wrong, even though they themselves are wrong. So every one of us has to check ourselves and remove all of this anxiety, all of these bad traits that we have, because that's the inner chametz. But of course, tomorrow night, we have to also remove the physical chametz. We have to, first and foremost, clean the house, if you haven't cleaned already, throughout the day. At night, you have to, pretty much, your house has to be clear of chametz, whatever chametz you have. If you're going to keep it for you to eat it after Pesach, that means you have to sell that chametz. I've already publicized in our groups on WhatsApp the website that we've used multiple times already at the Bet Din and Kollel in Lakewood. We use them. Anyone that wants to know, just go to the WhatsApp groups and you'll see the post that I made, I think, a couple of days ago. And we sell our chametz through them. I'm sure your local community also has. The rabbi sells the chametz. As long as it's something with a contract of some kind that's either digital or hard copy, that you're signing something that, and then of course, doing something that's a real transaction, and not just tell your rabbi, listen, I sold my chametz. And he says, okay, you sold, and nothing actually happens. It has to be selling the chametz is an important mitzvah, because if you don't sell your chametz, that means that everything that you kept in your house, even if you didn't use it throughout all of Pesach, everything you have is forbidden for you to eat. Not only during Pesach, but even after Pesach, forever. So you have to sell your chametz. Of course, it's good to give some tzedakah to whatever organization or rabbi you're using to sell your chametz. But again, it's a important thing. So aside from selling the chametz, you have to also check for chametz. Whatever chametz you've sold was put in some closets or a place in your house where you're not going to touch it, you're not going to go there. Don't put it right next to the kosher for Pesach stuff. They should be in a completely different place that you're not going to enter. And if you could lock it, put a sign on it, chametz, that would even be ideal. That's something that should be done. But nonetheless, after you've sold your chametz, you've cleaned the chametz, now you have to check for chametz that you haven't gone over, you haven't seen. So you have to go through the process which we discussed in our Pesach shiur last week. Check for the chametz. After you've checked for everything, you of course have to do a blessing before, blessing after, and then the next day in the morning, you have to burn your chametz that you've left over, that you didn't sell. Even though you're probably going to throw out most of your chametz that is not sellable or that you don't want to sell in the garbage, you should definitely leave over some chametz to actually burn in the morning. Also, it's a custom, very old custom, to burn your lulav from Sukkot during the burning of the chametz. Also, there's a custom of anyone that lights the menorah candles of Chanukah with oil to take the remains that didn't burn during the entire holiday of Pesach. If you preserved it until now, then that also goes in the chametz burning at times. There's different customs, but again, the most important part is the halacha, which is to burn the actual chametz, and then also do the blessing. Now remember that when you're looking for chametz tomorrow night, or you're not allowed to talk and socialize. It's not a social event. It's a time to really be focused. Of course, you can make it entertaining if you have kids and so on, but always stay focused on what you're supposed to be doing. Don't take any phone calls. Don't look at your text message. Just focus on what you're doing, however long it takes, whether it takes an hour or 2 hours or 5 hours or 10 minutes, whatever it takes you. For each his own. But nonetheless, at least make it something that is serious. Now, burning the chametz on Friday morning is also a critical mitzvah. After you've burned the chametz, there's no more chametz, and you have to get yourself ready for the chag. Remember, if you work, you have to stop. Typically, it's better for you not to work that on Friday at all. But if you work, you have to stop working half the day, and it's forbidden to work from 2.5 hours before the holiday. So from that point on, you can't do any more work. As far as regardless of what your profession is, it's time for you to get ready for the holiday. It's time for you to get ready for Shabbat. Now, on Friday night, you'll be doing go to shul, pray, and you'll see that there is a little bit of additions in the shul where the custom is to, or the law is in essence to say Hallel. Halakha is to say Hallel at the Bet Knesset, to thank Hashem for all of the miracles. And then, of course, when you come home, you say the Kiddush, and then you say the Agadah. And in the Agadah itself, you also say Hallel, but it's a broken up Hallel, where the beginning of the Hallel is said in the beginning of the Agadah, and the end of the Hallel is at the end of the Agadah, after you've already eaten. And that's the reason why you don't do a blessing on the Hallel. Now, for women, you should also know that the halacha is that you also have to do an Hallel. Women, even though you don't go to synagogue on Friday night, and you're getting the house ready, you have to say Hallel before the Kiddush. Before your husband comes home and is doing Kiddush, you have to say Hallel with a bracha. This is because Rav Ovadia writes, and it's also in the Yalkut Yosef, that the reason why both men and women have to say Hallel is just like all of the other mitzvot of Pesach are both for men and for women, equally for both men and women. All of the mitzvot, eating the matzah, doing the kiddush, doing the Seder, everything is for both men and women. There's no difference in the observance of mitzvot of Pesach between men and women, like there is, for example, in Sukkot. Where the men are obligated with the lulav and the etog, and women are not, and so on. But in Pesach, both men and women are equal in the mitzvot obligation, and both men and women have to say Hallel before the kiddush. Men typically, if you're praying in a Beit Knesset, you say Hallel after your Amidah in Arvit. Men and then women, you have to do it while your husband is praying. If you pray at home, you're not part of any community or something, then of course you pray, you add this Hallel to it. Now women have to do it while your husbands are praying. Now I know this must be tough because you have to get ready and so on, but you have to find, it doesn't take very long, but do your best to do it. Question is, why? What are we actually saying with this Hallel? What are we saying with this Hallel? We're simply thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all of the miracles. Thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all the miracles. Now, what are these miracles? Now, of course, there's an endless amount of miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us during this time, 3,333 years ago. But we also mentioned many of them in the Haggadah, of course, and there is different prayers and songs, poems that are part of the Haggadah. There is a difference between the Ashkenazi Haggadah and the Sephardi Haggadah in certain aspects that are minor and certain aspects that are major. For example, the Hallel of the Sfaradim and the Hallel of the Ashkenazim are different. Although they are in essence the same words, the order of the words, the order of the paragraphs are different to such an extent that some poskim say that if a Sephardi Jew says the Hallel of an Ashkenazi Jew during Pesach, he does not fulfill the obligation, or during the year, does not fulfill the obligation, because they consider it out of order. So it's important for you to know, if you are a Sephardi, you have to make sure to use a Haggadah that's a Sephardic Haggadah, because your Hallel is going to be different if you're using a different Haggadah. The other thing is that we see that there is also certain things that are mentioned that are exactly the same. And we have the Dayenu, the very famous song Dayenu, which I heard a funny story. It's a true story that happened years ago from Rabbi Ephraim. And he says that there was one time a king that some thief broke into his castle and stole his crown. Now, of course, anytime anything bad happens in history, you have to blame the Jews, because who else there is to blame? So, of course, the king sends a message to the poor Jewish community and tells them, I'm certain that one of you Jews stole my crown, and if you don't bring the crown back within X amount of days, I'm going to pass a decree. So, of course, the Jews, poor Jews, they get this decree. They know they don't have much to do. It was 3 days before Pesach. 3 days before Pesach. So they go to the Rav of the community, which was a big mekubal, and he told them, don't worry, this time is a time of salvation for Am Yisrael. Go, focus on Pesach, celebrate Pesach, and surely HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring the salvation. And that's what the community did. In those days, the people actually listened to their rabbis instead of cursed them out or simply ask them questions that they don't want the answers to, or ask them questions, get the answer, and then fight them about the answer because they don't like, they prefer a different answer, an answer that their secular rabbi answered. So nonetheless, the people went to their houses and focused on preparing for Pesach. Pesach came. Now, this thief, meantime, surely was not a Jew, not celebrating Pesach, but he heard that the king sent the message to the Jewish people. And he knew that the Jewish people had this big mekubal rabbi, and he was scared. Why? Because surely this rabbi does miracles. He's going to know who I am. He's going to find out who I am through one of his prayers or something. So I have to go check, see if the Jews are starting to talk about it. So he decided to sneak in to one of the houses during Pesach to see what the people are talking about. He peeks in, and he sees the people are eating, and then they start saying, Dayenu. Oh, they know who I am. Why? His name was Dayenu. And he thinks that they're talking about him. Where it says, Ilu natan lanu mamunam velo kara lanu et hayam Dayenu. Oh, they said my name again. Ilu kara lanu et hayam velo aviranu betocho becharava Dayenu. Oh, again, the guy ran out of the house as quickly as he entered. He says, they know, they're up, they got me. The rabbi found me out. He says, but maybe it's only this house. He went to the next house. As you would have it, Ishtabach Shimo La'ad, they were also at the section of the Haggadah to say Dayenu. Ilu ha'eviranu betocho becharava velo shika tzarenu betocho Dayenu. Oh, they know again. Third house again. Each house he went to, this guy realized he is in trouble. All of the Jews are talking about him. All of the Jews are saying Dayenu. He is done. He finds out where the rabbi lives. He goes to the rabbi. He says, listen, for the rabbi, I know, I'm sorry. You found me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give back the crown. Just tell your people to stop screaming my name, Dayenu. The rabbi surely understood what happened. He says, go bring the crown. I'll tell him to stop. It's about time they finish that song anyway. So that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought salvation to this poor Keilah. The question is, what are we saying? What are we saying when we say Dayenu? We say, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us just their money, the Egyptians, and didn't split the ocean, that would have already been enough. Here we see one of the extraordinary miracles, a miracle unlike any other, where you have a nation that was not only poor, but were slaves. A Holocaust of 116 years. A Holocaust where the Egyptians, Imach Shimam Vezichram, would take Jewish babies and put them behind the walls because their fathers or mothers did not meet the quota and make enough stones for the day. So instead of the stone, they put the Jewish baby there. Killing people endlessly, torturing them. When we got to Mount Sinai, before HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the miracle, everybody had some type of scar, some type of damage, some type of mum, some type of missing arm, missing leg, blind, disabled in some capacity, broken backs. Everybody was missing parts. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a miracle where, lehavdi, like the starfish, when you cut it, it grows back. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a miracle that everybody became complete. The one that was blind was able to see. The one that lost his tongue, the tongue grew back and he's able to speak again. Missing a leg, the leg grew back. He's able to run around like a teenager. Wonderful things happen in Mount Sinai. But this nation, there was slaves just not long before that, were poor and literally in the worst possible shape in human history. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes an endless amount of miracles in Egypt to destroy the strongest civilization in the world, turns the water into blood, but not just the water that's coming out of their wells, and not just the water that's coming out of their rivers, even the water that was used to build their buildings, where the walls were full of blood because there was water in it. If they took the water from the Jew, instantly the cup will turn into blood. The water that was in the cup will turn to blood. If he gave it back to the Jew, it turned back into water. At times they tried using a straw. The Jew would drink the water and the Egyptians would drink the water. What would the water would stay water for the Jew, but the Egyptian, the water will turn to blood by the time it arrived in his mouth. So much so that the Egyptians, in their desperation, asked the Jews to simply pour the water into their mouth. Since it's your hand, pour it into their mouth. It was water in the Jewish hand. By the time it arrived in the mouth of the Egyptian, it turned into blood. There is no running away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now this was one of the many ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made Am Yisrael rich. Why? The only way for the Egyptians to get water instead of blood is if they paid for it. And that's what they ended up doing out of desperation. And this was just the first plague. You could say even the easiest plague, if that's such a thing. The second plague you saw, frogs everywhere. One giant frog shows up. The Egyptians see this monster, this dinosaur of a frog. They figure this could make dinner for a bunch of us. As you would have it, they throw their spears in it. As soon as the spear hits, millions of frogs come out of this frog. Another spear, millions of frogs come out. Nothing hurts it. Every time they hit it, more frogs come out. The frogs went into their bedrooms, into their bathhouses, into their ovens, into their drinks, into their mouth, into their stomach, and they would stay alive miraculously. Even the stomach acid of the Egyptians could not kill these frogs. And this was just the second plague. And on with each one of the plagues as you learn all of the stories, the Midrashim, the Agadot, the Gemarot that talk about all of the plagues, endless amount of miracles. And if that was not enough, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to make sure that he delivered the promise to his son Avraham Avinu, who told him, when your descendants, they're going to be slaves in Egypt, but when I take them out, I'm going to take them out and they're going to be rich. I'm going to give them a big reward. Big money. Big money I'm going to give them. And of course, that's what happened, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave an extraordinary amount of money to Am Yisrael in multiple ways. One way was through the blood plague. Another way was the Egyptians gave them a bunch of money when they left. Another way where they found one of the treasures of Yosef HaTzadik right near the Yam Suf. And the fourth way, they got it after HaKadosh Baruch Hu drowned all of the Egyptians in the ocean. Interestingly enough, when a person looks at the order of events, where on one day the Jews are poor, they're slaves, and another day they're richer than rich. What changed? Blessing. Sometimes you have people in the world, they work like slaves. They work long hours. They have a profession. They have one job, two jobs. They have a career. They have a high salary. They have a lot of different things that bring in money. They have an Amazon business. They have an eBay business. They have a legal career. They have a medical career. They have all types of things, and sometimes multiple things. But yet, when it comes to the end of the month, they can barely pay for the basics. They're always struggling. They're always looking, where can I move money in order to make this? There's always a debt. There's always some type of problem. There's always something that's not paid. There's always somebody sending them a letter because they forgot to pay or couldn't pay. There's always something. There's no blessing in the money, no matter how much money they make. The accountant says, listen, you did well this year. You made $300,000 this year. All you could say to the accountant is like, where's the money? Where? I don't understand. You're saying I made $300,000 this year? Where's the money? I don't have money to feed my kids right now. I had to borrow money from my brother because I had to pay rent. What do you mean? But you made $300,000. You're the accountant. Tell me where the money is. And all of a sudden you see, yeah, it all adds up. Nobody stole money from you. What happened? You stole it from yourself. How? Certain actions that you did lost the blessing. Lost the blessing. And you see, sometimes there are certain people, it doesn't matter how much money they have, how much money they make, very hard for them to ever have anything of meaning, ever have any nachat, what we call, any peace of mind. It's hard for them to give tzedakah. It's hard for them to really enjoy their money. They're always struggling. They're always chasing themselves. And then you see people, sometimes they make a lot, sometimes they make very little, but nonetheless, they have peace of mind. They're able to give tzedakah generously. They're able to do everything that they need. Their bills are paid. No one is chasing them for anything. What's the difference? It's not the profession and it's not where they live. It's one has bracha, one does not. One has a blessing, the other one does not. Simple. Very simple. Am Yisrael was in Egypt, initially following the Torah, following the teachings of Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. They had a blessing. They had an entire city of Goshen, started acquiring real estate, started literally multiplying and being everywhere and having all types of things. At some point, they started losing that blessing because of intermarriage, because of idolatry, because of leaving the Derech Hashem. And before you know it, these rich people turn into slaves. Before you know it, these slaves turn into a Holocaust. A Holocaust that lasted 116 years. And yet, in a matter of what seemed like a minute, they turned from slaves into the richest people in the world, leaving Egypt with all of the treasures of Egypt. By the time they got to the end of Yam Suf and the Egyptians drowned, they literally had everything with them. Everybody was rich. What changed? One day you had no blessing, the next day you had blessing. That blessing is not only the quantity, but also what you can do with it. So now, Rabotai, we say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Dayenu, if you would have just given us the money from the Egyptians, without even ripping the ocean into 12, you customized it in such a way that each tribe of the 12 tribes had its own tunnel to make sure that everybody stays together. His family, the Reuven families with the Reuvens, the Benjamin families with the Benjamin, the Yehuda families with the Yehuda, the Shimon family with Shimon, and so on and so forth. Everybody, nobody gets lost. Because if you just said everybody just go, 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 people start getting worried, start getting anxiety. Why? Every mom wants to know where the baby is. Every father wants to know where his kids are or his wife is. You have millions of people, you need to know who. If you tell me, listen, we all go, it's easy to get lost. But if I know that in our section, all the Reuvens, in that section, all the Yudas, I'm not going to look for a Reuven in a Yudah section. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu made sure that even their precious little hearts were taken care of. No one's going to be anxious. This is a blessing. We say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that was already too much. You gave us already enough, but you even gave us more. Thank you, Hashem. But if you would have just ripped the ocean for us, and not gave us such a blessing through this passing, that would have already been significant. But not only that, you also drowned the Egyptians in there. If you would have just let us go through the ocean, and simply would have gone to the other end, and the Egyptians would have never come behind us. They simply would have just left. They would have went back home, go do something else. That would have already been enough. But you also were conscious of the fact and careful that the safek, the doubt that some of us had that maybe the Egyptians are going to come back in another way. They're never going to let us go. You know, not everybody had emunah. So you made sure to resolve all of those doubts. You made sure that not only you killed the Egyptians, but we saw it. We saw it and we knew that what Moshe Rabbeinu said in your name, that we will never see these Egyptians again, is being fulfilled in front of our eyes. And if you would have just done that, that would have been enough. Dayenu, that's enough. Too much, that's already amazing. But you did even more. You put us in a desert and fed us and bathed us and gave us everything you can possibly want. You literally gave us heaven on earth. 7 clouds surrounding Am Yisrael in the desert for 40 years. What does it mean to have clouds surrounding you? First and foremost, all of the dangerous things that exist in the desert simply do not apply to Am Yisrael. The snakes, the scorpions, all of the scary animals, All of the scary people, the bandits, cannot enter the camp. All of these things are gone. Second, no one ever gets tired of walking. Why? Because we're all walking on a cloud. Third, we have an automatic washing machine where for 40 years, no one in Am Yisrael needed to change their clothes. No one changed their clothes because the clothes they had looked as new as ever. Every single minute, there was a little stain. You ate your man, you put some ketchup on it, you put some mustard on it, you put some sauce on it, you took a bite, it fell on your shirt. Don't worry, Cloud's going to clean it. When? Right now. It looked pristine. You looked fresh at all times. No one had any concern, oh, I'm going to look for the date. Got a stain? No stains. But if that's not enough, you didn't have to worry about, listen, I got each birth, the wife gives birth. You're talking about 6 babies at a time. Each family probably gave 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 births. That means the average family had 30, 40 kids. But also, you had 80% or more of Am Yisrael died in Egypt. But their kids had to be adopted by us. So each family adopted multiple families' kids, meaning that every family literally had 100, 200, 300 kids. So now you're thinking, oh, lunch, dinner, yeah, we talked about that. What about the clothes? The father looks, wait a minute. By the time this one gets to 4 years old, I'm already going to go broke. Why? Because just to pay for his clothes, after I already paid for his older brother's clothes, after I paid for his sister's clothes, after I paid for that one clothes because he rips his clothes and he dirties his clothes, you're thinking just the clothes to pay for these kids. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, don't worry, it's on me. Why? The clothes are going to grow with them. You don't have to worry about more clothes. Dayenu. That would have already been enough. For 40 years, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're taking care of us. You're feeding us. You're bathing us. The water of Miriam, the river, followed us for 40 years due to the merit of Miriam, the tzedakah, Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen's sister. That water was like the man. Why? You wanted to drink something? No problem. Go drink some water, fresh water. You don't have to worry about any worms, any maggots, anything. But not only that, you want a different taste? What do you want? Orange juice? Okay, go to that water. Coca-Cola? Go to that water. Coffee? It's the morning. Coca-Cola? Go ahead. Tea? What kind of tea? Turkish tea? Are you a Moroccan tea? Tea? What kind of tea you want? Go to the water. Everything came out from that water. The water was like the man. Whatever you wanted. Whatever you wanted. Whenever you wanted. So much so, Rabotai, that the Am Yisrael was in such a position that getting sick, was not applicable to them. Was simply not applicable to them. The miracles were endless. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us even more. Where he gave us the man. The man, simply, all the ladies in the world wish they had the man. Why? You never have to cook again. Never had to cook again. Why? Whatever your husband likes, that's what he got. If he was righteous. If your husband is wicked, then you did have to cook it. Why? Because first of all, you have to go find it. Because only if you were righteous did it arrive at your house. But if you're wicked, you also have to cook it. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat says, you have to cook the man for certain people. Why? They're wicked. So a person that was righteous got the best meal in the world delivered to his house, to his camp, every day. Yeshua ben Nun that waited for Moshe Rabbeinu for 40 days and 40 nights at the bottom of the mountain, HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that Yeshua ben Nun was doing it out of the purity of his heart because he wanted to learn Torah before everybody else. As soon as Moshe Rabbeinu would come down, he would ask him questions right away. Because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, instead of bringing the man to his house, back where the people are, he brought the man to Yeshua ben Nun where he was at the bottom of the mountain. We say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you would have just done that, that's already enough. Thank you. Thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But that's not enough. He did more. He gave us the Shabbat. One of the most significant differences between Am Yisrael and the rest of the people in the world is Shabbat. Now, if you don't keep Shabbat, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Why? Because you think of Shabbat as a day off. And you figure, I take days off also. I take a Tuesday off, I take a Wednesday off, I take a week off here, a week off there. What's the difference? A Jew that observes Shabbat has a different life. Why? Because the whole week is based around Shabbat. The whole week is based around Shabbat. You know every week, Shabbat. It exists. I'm looking forward to it. It's the king of the days. It's the king of the year. Shabbat. It's something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gifted us to be able to celebrate every single week. The sanctity of Shabbat, the beauty of Shabbat is a world away from simply being a vacation. The food tastes better because of the Shabbat. The environment is better because of the Shabbat. A Jew that does not keep Shabbat is worse than an animal, according to the Gemara Masechet Pesachim. Why? The Gemara Masechet Pesachim says a Jew that does not observe Shabbat is not allowed to eat meat. Why? Because the cow is better than him. How come? Because a Jew that does not observe Shabbat is not different. Is not different from anybody else. He's actually worse than everybody else. Because while the cow is serving its creator, while the rest of creation is serving its creator, the Jew is not serving his creator. Why? Because he thinks that the Shabbat is a burden. He doesn't realize the Shabbat is a gift. A gift specifically from the treasure chest. A gift that distinguishes Am Yisrael from the rest of creation. Even if a non-Jew doesn't work on Shabbat, he will never have the same feeling as a Jew that observes Shabbat the right way. Why? Difference. There's a difference. Now, of course, this is one of the gifts that everybody can merit. Everybody can merit it. All you got to do is observe the Torah and mitzvot. If you're a non-Jew that wants to become a Jew, you can be assured that whatever you're doing today will change drastically, both physically and spiritually, the moment you convert. And it'll continue to change gradually as you grow in Torah. If you're a new Baal Tshuva, you should know your Shabbat will continue improving as your Torah continues improving. Surely it has ups, downs, sideways, right, left, distractions. Satan shows up for 6 months in a row. The food is cold and all types of things. Sure, but once you pass the test, you get a taste of Shabbat, Gan Eden. We say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you would have given us just the Shabbat, it would have been enough. Dayenu. Thank you, Hashem. It's enough already. Hashem gave more. Hashem gave more, and He gave us not only the man and not only the Shabbat, but He brought us to Har Sinai. He brought us to Har Sinai. What Har Sinai? Now you have a Torah. Now you have a manual to creation. Now you have a manual of how to be happy. Now you have a manual of how to get to heaven for eternity. Now you have the answers to every single question under the sun. An attorney sent me a message just the other day. Asked me a question of what do I think about a certain subject. And I responded to this attorney. It wasn't an attorney that I was using for business. It was an attorney that watches our shiurim. And I gave him my explanation of something that had nothing to do with Torah, rather a secular subject. The reply that I got was like as if I just brought them to Mount Sinai. Wow, you blew my mind with this response. I can't believe you thought of it this way and that way. I said, it has nothing to do with me. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you could do the same or better. The more you learn Torah, the more your mind becomes clear and you see things from the best perspective. In the end, it's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But when you learn His Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the divine assistance both in Torah and mundane subjects. in anything. He'll clear your mind. But you have to dedicate. Dedicate yourself to learning the Torah. What Torah? Torah we got on Mount Sinai. Torah that we got on Mount Sinai, Rabotai. Do you know how many geniuses throughout all of history, as well as today, are people that are Talmidei Chachamim, that work in the secular world? Somebody recently told me, Rav Ben Porat, said that he recently spoke to the person that apparently came up with the cure to this coronavirus many, like 10, 12 years ago, where this was an innovative cure. Obviously, it didn't have coronavirus in mind. It was a completely different issue at the time that he got a Nobel Prize for, apparently, because for the first time ever, this cure, this medicine or this thing that he created, innovated medicine forever, where the cells started healing themselves, if you will. Long story short, this person is not just anybody. It's a Jew. It's a Jew. A Jew that got the Torah on Mount Sinai. There are geniuses that are Talmidei Chachamim that you would never think. But you have a friend, Rav Sebag. This is a physicist, an engineer, someone that if you go to his website, see some of the write-ups out there, you have to be a genius just to understand what the genius is talking about. One of my dear friends, Rav Adam Somel, he sends me a message of how he enjoys our shurim, inspired by them. But he tells me he's upset at himself. Why are you upset at yourself? He said, you completed the Shas. He says, yes, but I only completed the Shas Bavli twice this year and the Yerushalmi once. And I didn't complete the Shulchan Aruch and the Zohar and all the Midrashim. I only completed the Bavli twice this year, not forever, just this year. The Bavli twice and the Yerushalmi once. I'm upset. I think I went down in my Avodat Hashem. He completed the Shas 3 times in 1 year. He's upset at himself. Why? I don't think I studied enough. I had so many distractions where every time I wanted to study, something was distracting me, he tells me. Most people do not even know what the Shas is. Most people will never complete the Shas because they think it's too big for them. But in reality, if you are a Torah observant Jew, you have a neshama that can do anything. Why? You are Mount Sinai. And we tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you would have just simply brought us to Mount Sinai with all the miracles, you healed everybody, you gave us the Torah, that would have already been enough. Dayenu Hashem, thank you enough. Thank you though. But he did more. He gave us the Torah, and then he brought us to Eretz Yisrael and gave us the Bet HaMikdash. Now, of course, if you are dealing with the modern government in Eretz Yisrael, lefty, liberal, pro-homosexuality, pro-terrorism, pro-everything bad for its own people, surely it's hard to fathom. How could this be a gift? But that's only because you're looking at the bad. You want to know about Am Yisrael? I'll tell you about Am Yisrael. I'll tell you about real Am Yisrael. Not Am Yisrael that's in the government. Not Am Yisrael that's in the news. The Am Yisrael that I know, firsthand. The Am Yisrael that's not in the news typically. The Am Yisrael that HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates the world for them every day. Just for them. We, Baruch Hashem, learned a little bit, and one of the things we learned is that tzedakah tetzil mimavet. Tzedakah will save a life. Shlomo HaMelech says it in multiple places. In Proverbs chapter 10, verse number 2, he says that tzedakah, giving charity, will save a person's life, rescues a person from death. Also says it in chapter 11 of Proverbs. In the verse number 4, that tzedakah will save from life, will save a person from a certain death. He repeats it multiple times. Why does Shlomo HaMelech keep insisting that tzedakah will save a person's life. Most people say, I gave tzedakah. I don't think anybody saved it. I don't think my life was saved. You may not realize it, but certainly it was. But sometimes you don't have the merit to see how your life was saved. And sometimes you do. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, page 156b, says the teachings of Rabbi Akiva, the teachings of the sages, tzedakah tetzim mimavet, gives several stories where the Gemara in Masechet Bava Batra, page 10, 10a, where Rabbi Akiva argues with Tonus Rofus, the Rasha Goy, that was very smart, and it says to him, if your God loves you so much, why does he make you poor? So Rabbi Akiva says to save us from Dayenu. Now surely, a person could think, oh, save from Dayenu, oh, okay, so you don't want to go to hell, you don't want to go to this, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the seventh chamber that Rabbi Reuven mentions in his shurim every day. That's why you give tzedakah? No. It's not just that Dayenu. A person that does not give tzedakah and make tzedakah a permanent fixture in their daily life lives in Dayenu in this world. Why? They have no concept. They have no concept of what money is for. A person that does not give tzedakah on a regular basis and makes tzedakah the reason why they want more, why there is connection to material of any kind. A person that does not live with tzedakah as one of their objectives in their daily life, regardless of what their bank account has, whether it's a lot or it's a little, whether they work for Wall Street or they work for a law firm or they work for a Bitcoin company or whatever they do. A person that does not make tzedakah a priority in their daily life is already living in Dayenu here. Why? Their life is constantly in danger. Constantly. I'll give you a couple examples. Gemara Masechet Shabbat, page 156, says that Shmuel, one of the Amoraim, one of the great Amoraim sages, at the time of the Gemara, was walking together with a certain goy named Avlat. And this Avlat was a wise man that was also able to gaze at the stars and see things. See, Chachamim say, Chochma b'goyim in Gemara Masechet Megillah. Chochma b'goyim ta'amin, Torah b'goyim al ta'amin. Gemara Masechet Megillah, I believe it's page Vav, page 6b. I believe it's 6b. Says that if they tell you that there's wisdom among the nations, believe them. If they say that there's Torah among the nations, don't believe them. Why? The neshama of a goy is not tuned well enough to truly understand Torah. They can understand basics, but truly understand Torah, they're not tuned to do it. They're not able to do it. Why? You have to actually get the gift of Torah. Now, the basics, the stories, clarities of certain things, sure, but because they're obligated in that as well. But there are certain things where if you learn in halacha of how the Chachamim think, if you learn in the different books of how the Chachamim arrived at certain conclusions, it's simply a unique gift to the Jews. And again, I say this with all due respect to all of the righteous Noahides that watch our shurim. This is just a reality. And again, one of the great benefits of becoming a Jew. One of the reasons why we try to help people become Jews. If they're seriously going to learn Torah, it's worth it for them to be a Jew just for that, even if they're going to live their entire life full of difficulty. Just for this gift alone of Torah, it's worth it to become a convert. But needless to say, this Avlat was a smart guy, but not in Torah knowledge, but simply in gazing at stars. You would look at stars, you would be able to tell the future. And Shmuel was his friend. And one day they're walking together, and a group of men walk by them. And Avlat says, you see that guy? That guy with that hat, the blue hat, that shirt? That guy? It's his last day on earth. Shmuel says to him, how do you know? He says, I seen the stars. He's going to die today. Shmuel says to him, if he's a Jew, your stars are not going to do nothing because it's not applicable to him. The stars only apply to non-Jews. Avlat didn't agree with Shmuel. Little time passed, and they came back in a few hours, and the same group of men finished their job, and this guy was one that came with them. Immediately Avlat sees him, he's, whoa, I saw it. I don't understand. I saw it, he's dead. How is he alive? Shmuel says to the guy, come over here, I want to ask you some questions. Me and my friend over here, Avlat, we want to ask you some questions. So the guy comes, he says, you Jewish? It's the original Chabadnik. He says, you Jewish? He says, yeah. What, where you come from? He says, I come from work. Yeah, what do you do? He tells him what he does, so on, okay. So, as soon as they start talking, the guy opens his bag while they're talking, and he sees in his bag is a dead snake. And he's surprised, jumps back, whoa, how did this get here? Shmuel says to him, your life was on the line today, but it was saved. Tell me about your day. What did you do today that was different? He says, tell you the truth, Rabbi, every day I go to work, same group of guys, and we like each other, we're good people. And, what we do is each person brings something from home, food. We put it all in a basket, and then everybody takes. So nobody is, we share it among us. Now today we did the same thing as we always do, but I realized that one of the guys didn't have. He didn't bring anything, and he was ashamed. So I pretended like I took and I gave him my piece, just to make sure he doesn't get embarrassed, so nobody knows that he didn't give. And I didn't eat today. Shmuel says to this guy, that action of tzedakah saved your life. That little thing, that was really a big thing in Shemayim. That little action of giving him tzedakah, not only tzedakah of your sandwich, but the tzedakah of saving face, the tzedakah of giving him honor, the tzedakah of your time, your effort, that saved your life. You may have thought, I'm just doing something nice no one's ever going to know about. Little do you know, that saved your life. Rabbi Akiva was told that his daughter was going to die by one of these stargazers. And Rabbi Akiva knew that these people knew what they were talking about. There's nothing for him to do. Nothing for him to do. He can pray, but there's not much he can do. On the day of his daughter's wedding, his daughter is a lot of people, of course, Rabbi Akiva's daughter. His daughter leaves the crowd for a little while and goes to her room. Rabbi Akiva notices that his daughter is not there, and immediately he's thinking about what was supposed to happen. She was supposed to die on her wedding day. He runs looking for his daughter, gets to her room, knocks on the door. His daughter opens for him. He goes, oh, you okay? Yeah, Abba. Yeah, I'm okay. And as she says hello to her father, she takes her hairpin was stuck in the wall because as soon as she got to the room, she wanted to relax a little bit, and she took off her hair covering and she put the pin that was putting everything together, she stuck it on the wall. As soon as she took the pin out, she saw that there was a snake on the other end. The pin went directly into the head of a snake that was hiding in the wall that was supposed to come out and kill her. Rabbi Akiva says to his daughter, what did you do today that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved your life? She says, Abba, I've been fasting as the tradition is to fast. For some people do it still to this day. Mostly Ashkenazim, Sfaradim don't typically do it. On their wedding day to fast. Fast the whole day. And break the fast at the wedding. So, at the, all day I'm fasting. And I wanted to eat something. I was really hungry. So I got my food. And I said, okay, I'm going to go eat since everybody else is taken care of. But I noticed that as I was about to leave to go to my room with the food, there was no more food left. I had my food. I'm starving. But there was a poor guy that came looking for food. No one was paying attention to him. No one can help him. And my meal was the last one. I gave him my meal. I said, you know what? I'll eat later. I figured, let me just go rest. He needs the food more than I do. Rabbi Akiva says to his daughter, tzedakah tatzil mimavet. Tzedakah saved your life. Your tzedakah, you just thought you're giving him a sandwich, you're being nice. It saved your life. It saved your life. You were supposed to die, according to the typical fortune. But your tzedakah changed the fortune. Why? You did above and beyond. Sometimes a person gives $10. They go, how come Hashem didn't make me rich with a zivug, with a $400,000 car? I gave $10 to the homeless guy. No, Habibi. It's not $10. $10 is not going to get you anything. It has to be painful. And it has to be something that you do on a regular basis. You have to make tzedakah a permanent part of your life. Why? Because when you do, your life is constantly protected. Now these are stories from a few thousand years ago. What about today? During this extraordinary campaign, there's been one story after another. And there have been amazing stories. Now before the campaign, typically we send decent amount of money in every holiday. This year, Siyata Dishmaya had a feeling that we needed more. We needed more. I don't know why. But now I know why. At the time, we were planning on doing this campaign. We thought, you know what, we're going to send about what we did last year, $100,000. We'll send to help poor people. But something in my mind said, no, it's not enough. So I started arguing with myself. Okay, 120,000. I mean, come on, how much more? I mean, already 100,000 I don't have. I have to borrow the money to go give it, and hopefully people donate it. And people don't necessarily donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to our organization on every campaign. Over the year, Baruch Hashem, it all adds up, but each campaign, we're not one of these that 24 hours, raise $5 million organizations. Baruch Hashem, over the last year, we collected a couple of $1 million. The year before that, $1 million and change. So Baruch Hashem, it grows, but we don't, it's literally month to month, and as soon as it comes in, it comes out. So last year we did about $100,000. So I figured this year we'll do $100,000. But something told me no. I said, okay, $120,000. And something told me no. So how much more? $150,000? I don't even have the money yet. I mean, I need the money to go buy a building, to go do this, to go do that. I mean, what am I going to do? I just paid $150,000, $200,000 for books. Another $100,000 for the USBs. Another this. That's it. I'm done. Tapped out. Not enough. So I'm arguing with myself. What do I do when I argue with myself? Now, sometimes I go directly to Rabbi Ephraim. But sometimes when I'm arguing with myself, Rabbi Ephraim is 7-hour difference, so I can't talk to him. I can't ask him. So how do I go to? I go to my Rabbanit. So I talk to my Rabbanit. And the tzadikah says, you got to do more. How much more? I said, listen, I have this crazy idea that we're going to take pretty much most of what we have in the organization. We take a couple $100,000, $250,000, more than half of what we have, and give it in tzedakah. But I know that we're probably not going to raise that kind of money. Rabbanit says, sure, do it. I'm like, no, you're supposed to be like, the advocate for the other side. Say, no, it's too much, honey. You're going crazy. She looks at me, why? It's like somebody you're supposed to argue. No. She, Baruch Hashem, money doesn't mean anything to her. Said, okay, you're like that voice. You're not helping. Not realizing it's helping much more. I'm hoping for somebody to say, no, you're crazy. Do 100. It's enough. Who else is doing it? And little do people know that many of the people that came and Baruch Hashem we helped told us one story after another apparently many of the organizations that were giving in past years stopped giving. I'm not really sure why, but many of the organizations that were giving during Kimcha de Pischa were not giving this year. Very strange. So, Baruch Hashem, we talked about it for a little while. My wife says, go for it, do. I said, okay, fine. Then I get on the phone with Rabbi Reuven eventually, and I told him, what do you think we should do for Kimcha de Pischa? And he says, at least what we did last year. I said, okay, so we should do what we did last year then? He said, no, I didn't say that. I said, but that's what you just said. He goes, no, I choose my words carefully, Yaron. He doesn't call me Yaron, he calls me Rabbi Yaron, but anyway, he says that, no. What did you say? I said, at least what we did last year. Because I know that sometimes you have these ideas. I said, yeah, Rav, I have this ruach shtut. He's like, I like your ruach shtut. I like when you have these ideas, I like them. Why? Because sometimes I get this. Usually it's him getting those ideas that are crazy, elaborate, huge. We can't do it, but somehow we do. Once in a while I get them too. I said, listen, I have this thing, I want to do $250,000. But it's pretty much what it's doing is that it's going to take most of the money that the organization has. And I don't think we're going to raise that money. What do you think? He says, do it. I'm like, no, but I have to I have to think about it because I have to do it only if I already know we're not going to raise any money. Meaning that I'm still going to be mentally prepared as if no one's going to donate even a single dollar. He says that's the perfect mindset. Assume already no one's going to donate anything. So, took me a little while. Over the next few hours or day, whatever it was, Baruch Hashem, we decided, okay, we're moving forward, $250,000. Now I thought, this is already my mesirut nefesh, this is already my sacrifice, and I'm telling you guys the inner workings of what's going on in my mind, in my life, for a reason. And it's not to make me look so righteous, trust me. So, I thought I did enough, Baruch Hashem. We have a team, about a dozen people, all of them avrichim, tzadikim, and one tzadikah woman, Ital, Giveret Ital, and her husband. They're distributing in different places in Eretz Yisrael, in Netanya, in Bnei Brak, in Yerushalayim, in Tel Zion, different places, Baruch Hashem. So, we have this distribution. Now, every time we get these distributions, we meet these wonderful people, and we see, and they send us letters. Bezrat Hashem, maybe we'll have some time and try to post some of these letters. They're all in Hebrew, but it's amazing that when you give money to tzaddikim, they make such a big deal out of it. They make it as if you just saved their life. In many cases, it seems like you do, but in reality, you didn't. But the best part about it is that you end up meeting real tzaddikim that they ask you, wait, is this chalukah? Yeah. This is meant for everybody? It's like, no, it's specifically meant for avrichim, orphans, widows, converts, or the needy, people that are poor. Oh. No, I don't think we fit the description. Wait, hold on. Why don't you fit the description? Are you an avrech? Yes. So why wouldn't you fit? You mean your wife works? No, they fired her 2 months ago. So your wife doesn't work for 2 months. No. You work? No, I'm an avrech. I go to kollel. How much they give you at the kollel? 1,800 for the month. 1,800 shekels. It's about $500-$600. Okay, what about for Pesach? They give you anything extra? Yeah, they added another $70 to it. How many kids you have? 10 kids. How are you exactly going to survive for Pesach with $600? $670? Oh, no, Bezrat Hashem, we'll be fine. Why don't you want? Why aren't you taking the... because I'm not sure if halachically I fit the description of needy, because technically I do have the $600. There's probably somebody that has less than $600 that they may be needy, and I don't want to take theirs. And it's not once and not twice and not 3 times and not 10 times that we got tzaddikim that literally would come, ask what the distribution is, and then they'll say, no, you know what? I don't think I fit the description of being needy. I have $600 for me and my 8 kids, me and my 6 kids, me and my 12 kids. Unbelievable. You barely have food to eat, but he's not sure if he fits the description. He says, you know what, there's probably somebody that needs a little more than me. So I'll figure it. You know, Hashem will send me another way. Unbelievable people. Is there any nation in the world like this that has people like this where you give them free money to go buy groceries, to have a holiday, and they say, no, you know what? I'm not sure I'm needy enough because there may be somebody that needs more than me. Is there any such a nation? We're not talking about one of these YouTube videos where he found somebody that may even be an actor that says, no, we're talking about on a regular basis. If that's not enough, the people that are distributing it are people, they're all avrechim themselves. They all have 6, 7, 8, 10 kids. Wife is working sometimes not working. They're all in the same boat. They're all in the same exact boat, making $600 a month. So we should make sure that they take for themselves also. But what do we have? One of the tzaddikim. I always make sure to ask our Ephraim, please make sure each one of them takes for themselves. And every time we have a problem. Why do we have a problem? Kvod Rav, did you take? Oh yeah, no, I'm okay. No, I didn't ask you if you're okay. I asked you, did you take for yourself, for your family? You got, Baruch Hashem, kids in the house, a wife. It's not just you, you're not 20 years old. You take for yourself? No, Baruch Hashem, I'm okay. No. Did you take? No, I couldn't take. What do you mean you couldn't take? I told you take this for yourself. Take the 1,000 for yourself. I didn't tell you take 50,000. Told you take 1,000 for yourself. That's it. Not more than everybody else, just enough like everybody else. At the very least you should get for being a distributor, for working and writing the letters and writing the envelopes. At the very least, take for yourself. I was going to, and I had the envelope, he tells me, but then another family came. And there was nothing else left. What am I going to do? Not give them anything? I said, yeah, but it's for you. It's food for your kids. Yeah, but I'm not going to give them anything. And it's not once and not twice and not 3 times, not 5 times. They take food from their plate, money that's theirs, money that's in their pocket when they themselves are needy. Why? There's another family. I think they need more than me. How do you know they need more than you? I don't know. They came. They came. Is there such a nation that has such people? Is there such a nation that has such people? Here in America, here in the UK, here in Australia, here in different places, there are Jews just like this, but unfortunately there are also people, sometimes they're Jews, sometimes they're not. You give them $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever they say they want, for whatever it is that they want in business, and they still end up being criminals and taking the money and running with it. Nothing is ever enough. They tell you they'll do XYZ, you give them the money for XYZ, and they still don't do it. But yet in the world of Torah, you have people, you're looking to help them, but they're not sure if they should be the one you help, and maybe it should be one of their friends or somebody else. At some point, the distribution, Baruch Hashem, got to its peak. When did it get peak? Everybody gave to their people, their groups, their communities, and so on. But then somebody apparently publicized it and also publicized the home address of Rabbi Ephraim. Something that I don't like to do and will never do personally, but it got publicized at some point. Phone number and address. 3 nights ago, somewhere around the afternoon, people start coming to his house. He's never met before. Okay, we'll give to you, give. At some point, it got crazy. 300 people showed up at once. Another couple of hundred. The phone started ringing off the hook. 80 calls a minute. There was a line from his door out down the floors, outside of the building, around the block. People coming from all over the country, begging, please help us. Good people. They saw it. They heard it. Help us. We didn't have enough. We decided to add some more. We decided to add some more money. We sent some more money. We added to the campaign. It's more than $250,000. Why? There's more people that need. But how much you going to give? So you had to lower the amounts a little bit. Instead of giving 500 per family or 1,000 per family, you gave a little less and a little less, but you had to keep giving. Ephraim started taking out of his pocket. I started taking out of my pocket. We're both trying to do whatever we can. All this time, you're doing a mitzvah for the sake of a mitzvah. Little do you know that you're saving your own life. Later that night, Rabbi Ephraim goes to sleep. We learned a little bit that night. We talked about it while I was on the phone with him. It was 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and people were still knocking on his door. Groups of 20 people at a time. Knocking on his door at 1:30 in the morning. Please help us. We came all the way from this way, from that way, from Ashdod, from Haifa, from this, from that. We traveled on a bus 3 hours. Please help us. Each story is worse than the next. One guy shows up. 2 kids have cancer. One guy shows up. He's lost his leg. When did he lose his leg? In the tragedy in Meron. Lost his leg. Shem Yishmor. From the pressure, his leg got so damaged that he can't walk on his leg anymore. But he had to come back the next day. Why? Because the first time he came, there were so many people. He's scared. He has a phobia now, a trauma from what happened to him in Meron. He left. He came back the next day, but we ran out. But we said, listen, we'll figure something out. We'll send you some more. Rabbi Ephraim talks to him a little bit. Says, yeah, Baruch Hashem, I knew that as soon as that happened to me, the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wants something for me. So I decided to raise money throughout the whole year, to have a day of, during the year, during Lag BaOmer, during the day that we celebrate Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, where we're going to have a kollel for that day. Wait, you lost your leg going to the grave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? And instead of complaining like the rest of the world does, instead of crying like the rest of the world does, you take it that, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wants you to publicize more Torah. So you open a kollel for that day. Yeah, that's the mind of a Jew. That's the mind of a Jew. What nation in the world has such people? Later that night, after I see all these different people, they show up, the phone calls, this, that, the other thing. Rabbi Ephraim goes to sleep. He has a dream. Now, typically, Rabbi Ephraim doesn't pay attention to dreams. Unless he sees a tzaddik or something. But he calls me first thing in the morning. I'm shocked because I typically don't get phone calls. Usually it's messages. I never really get phone calls from him early in the morning. And he tells me, I got to tell you something. So what happened? Last night, I had this dream. And it was a very vivid dream. And I usually don't pay attention to dreams, but I have to tell you what I dreamt because something happened. So what happened? He said, I went to sleep, I got into a dream, and I see an article publicized on the Haredi website, news website. Terrorist runs over, Arab terrorist runs over woman and 2 kids. The article is about an Arab that ran over and killed Rabbi Ephraim's wife and 2 of his kids. And he is in a dream reading the article word for word of what took place, crying hysterical. His wife just got killed. And the 2 kids. And he's also even reading what the terrorist, the Arab terrorist, Yimach Shimo, what he had to say about it. Now you're asking yourself, if it's just a dream, why are you saying Yimach Shimo? He's reading the article, he's crying hysterical, and he says it's as real as it possibly gets. It's not a regular dream. I wake up in the morning, I'm shocked, I have something that I haven't seen before. But what do? I tell my wife. I don't tell my wife. It's one of these unique things. So I asked my wife, Rabbanit, you had any dream last night? She says, no. She said, why? Because I had this dream, he tells her, about you and two of the kids getting killed by an Arab, getting run over. The Rabbanit's wife, the Rabbanit's face turns white. He says, why? That actually did happen yesterday. He says, what? What do you mean? He says, I went to the store yesterday in between the distributions for the people. I went to the store with those two kids of ours. Baruch Hashem, they have 8 kids. Those 2 kids, I went to the store with them. Now, after we were in the store, we had to go to cross the street. And I see that there's a car coming, and it stops right before us. So I wait for him to pass. And I see he's not passing. I have the 2 little kids with me. And I look in the car and I see it's an Arab. It's always concerning, especially with what's been happening recently. But what are you going to do? The guy doesn't want to drive. He's in essence giving me the right of way to cross. So I take the kids and I start stepping towards the street. As soon as I step on the street, this Arab, imach shimo v'zichro, presses on the gas full force and tries to run all 3 of them over. This time, it's not a dream. And literally, miracle of miracles. In the last second, the Rabbanit somehow jumps back with the kids out of the way. And the Arab continues, hopefully right to Dayenu. And literally in a second difference, not getting that strength to jump back with the 2 kids back, protecting everybody out of the way, 3 lives would have been lost. And very likely many more as a result of the pain. Now, there wasn't a 1 second difference. It could have been a 1 shekel difference, a $1 difference, a $1,000 difference, a 1 person difference. Tzedakah tatzil mimavet. Little do you know that you are doing a mitzvah and you think that you're doing something good for the sake of good. And you have this crazy idea that, I'm going to do even more good for the sake of good because it's good to do good. All the while you have no idea that the whole good that you have is not good from you, but good from HaKadosh Baruch Hu for you. Where He's giving you the idea to do it because you need it. Because you need tzedakah to save another life. There was another life saved during that time of another very important person. But that perhaps we'll leave for another day, another story, another time. But I could assure you that not only was our personal lives affected, but every single person that listens to the shurim that we ever did in the past, are doing today, or will do in the future. All of them benefited from this. Because if it wasn't for this, there wouldn't be. There simply wouldn't be. We thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for things that happened 3,333 years ago. Little do we know that He is making no less miracles for us today. The question is, do we have the merit to see them as He's making them? I thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and as part of my thank you, publicize your name and publicize your greatness and the miracles that you make for us, the ones that we know about and the ones that we don't know about. Because en od milvado, there is nothing else but Him, and in reality, there is nothing. There's nothing without Him. Thank you for listening to me. Now I'm going to have a little bit of a drink, and B'ezrat Hashem, you guys ask some questions. Okay, Yonah is asking, everything Hashem does is for the best. Given this, is it higher level of bitachon to thank Hashem for a particular struggle He's giving you rather than to request that He change it? Well, if you listen to the first 20 lectures that we have in the Jewish Hashkafa series, especially in number 16, 17, 18, I believe, we discussed bitachon intensively and see that the definition of bitachon is not to ask for something else, having faith that Hashem will change things, but actual bitachon is having confidence in Hashem that whatever He's giving us certainly is the best choice available to us. Meaning that all of the other choices that we are imagining for ourselves are worse than the current decree that Hashem has for us. Now, of course, a person could always ask for a better decree, for circumstances to change. But to have bitachon means that whatever it is that you have right now, you have the confidence that whatever you have right now is the best that's available to you. And therefore, what is a better option than what you have is simply not available to you under the circumstances. So when we pray for something better in order to get something better, but through our actions. By praying, we are transforming ourselves and improving ourselves and doing tshuva, and therefore putting ourselves in a position to get a better decree. But someone that has bitachon is someone that knows that whatever I do have is indeed the best that is available to me. Tilly is asking, what prayers are married women required to say daily? Is there a difference between Sfaradim and Ashkenazim? No, not necessarily much of a difference as far as what you have to pray. There is a little bit difference in the Sidurim of the Sepharis and Ashkenazim, but women are supposed to say the Birkot HaShachar, the morning prayers. That all Jews have to do that. Wake up in the morning, say Modeh Lefanecha. That's without the name of Hashem. After you wash your hands with Netilat Yadayim, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, or if you want to do it like some of the Mekubalim, the morning Netilat Yadayim, you should do 4. 4 on 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, but instead of 3 on each side, 4 on each side. After you relieve yourself, of course, wash your hands again, but without a blessing. The first time you did it is with a blessing. Then you say Asher Yatzar, and you go directly into the morning blessings. Remember, when you say Asher Yatzar in the morning, you have to go directly into the morning blessings, because the first one after Asher Yatzar, the blessing that's after Asher Yatzar in the morning blessings is not a normal blessings, and rather is a blessing that is dependent on a previous blessing, and therefore it has to be connected to the Asher Yatzar. Now, if you said Asher Yatzar and you didn't go directly into the morning blessings because you had to change some diapers, you had to feed one of the kids, you had to do something, and by the time you got to the morning blessings, you don't need to say Asher Yatzar. Then what you do is you say one of the individual blessings that you thank Hashem, and then you go back to that first paragraph. So you say, let's say, thank you Hashem for for not making me a goy, or thank you Hashem for something else that is part of the morning blessings, and then you go to that first paragraph that's after Asher Yatzar, that's in your Siddur. Long story short, you finish the morning blessings, which are the last 3 of them are the blessings on the Torah. And now, if you have kids, typically that's the most you can do at that time, because you have to go take care of your kids, send them off to school, feed them, change them, and so on and so forth. So prayer for you as far as Shachrit typically is not possible for most women. Okay? What some women can do is after this, they could sneak in a Shema Yisrael. They can sneak in a Shema Yisrael. So the reason why a woman is not obligated to do all 3 prayers per day like a man does is because she has to take care of the house, and she's not obligated to do mitzvot that are bound to time, which those 3 prayers are bound to time. So what is a woman obligated to do? First is the morning blessings, like I just said. Then she has to do 1 Kriyat Shema per day. 1 Kriyat Shema at some point during the day. You could do it in the morning, you could do it in the afternoon, you could do it at night, and 1 Amidah per day. 1 Amidah per day. That is the bottom requirement. Ideally, she should do one of the prayers completely, either the full Shachrit prayer or the full Mincha prayer with an addition of Shema Yisrael, or the full Arvit prayer, which includes the Shema Yisrael. The morning, the Shachrit and the Arvit include Shema Yisrael, and the Mincha does not include, so you have to add the Shema Yisrael either before or after it, you say the Shema Yisrael. What most women typically do is the ones that obviously pray every day, aside from the morning prayers, they do Shema Yisrael in the morning, and then as soon as the kids leave or at some point during the afternoon, they do the Mincha. They do the Mincha, so at least they have some type of prayer in the morning. They have the whole Shema Yisrael, which is the Shema Yisrael plus the couple of paragraphs that follow it until the end of the section of the Tzitzit, which ends with the word Emet. So until that section, if you can go all the way until the end of Amidah, that's preferable, but nonetheless, you have to do the Shema Yisrael section, and then most women typically are only able to do that, and then they do the Amidah at some other point during the day. That's what most women do. If you don't have kids, or your kids already have grown up, or you're still young, you're not married, and so on, then you should definitely do a lot more than that, and even multiple prayers per day, because you have more time. But if you don't, then obviously the minimum requirement is, like I said, the morning blessings, the Shema Yisrael once a day, and the Amidah once a day. And of course, you should do the Shema al Amitah. It's not in the same level of obligation as the first couple of things that I mentioned, but certainly it should be done. Now, in addition to that, a woman is also obligated to learn some Torah. She's obligated to learn Torah that applies to her. So the Torah that applies to a woman is things that have to do with modesty, things that have to do with the laws of Shabbat, of a kosher kitchen, Musar is very, very important for a woman, because if you're going to raise a Jewish home, you need to know how to behave, not just for yourself, but also for your marriage, also for your parenthood. Parents that do not learn Musar typically have rotten kids. Why? Because the kids are learning how to behave from their parents who don't know how to behave. So when a parent learns Musar and applies it to their life, that will affect the kids. So a woman has to learn some Musar. She has to learn about the kosher home, about the laws of Shabbat and the holidays, but not in the same intensity and details as the husband. She has to learn generalities. During the holiday time, right before the holiday time, just go over everything you already know to make sure that you're up to date with things. And of course, throughout the year, most of the time a woman is going to learn about the Musar, things that apply to her. The weekly Torah portion is obviously also good, but the obligation is for a woman to learn the things that apply to her. There are unfortunately some women that love to learn everything that doesn't apply to them. Or worse yet, women that consider their Torah learning no less important than their husband's Torah learning. Now, although women and men are both obligated to learn Torah, there's a much bigger obligation on the men. Which means if you have to make a choice, either you learn Torah or your husband learn Torah, then your husband always comes first. Now, unfortunately, in the world today, there's a lot of things that are upside down, including in the religious world, where you see women spending all of their time and effort going to Shiurei Torah, watching Shiurei Torah, while their husbands stay the same Am Haaretz as they always were, and the excuse is, he's not interested. Well, he's not interested because you're not making him interested. It's your job to make him interested. But unfortunately, women don't realize it because they figure that they're somehow compensating for their husband learning Torah by them learning, and it's not. And many times it leads to problems. It leads to a lot of problems. I've seen women that spend a lot of time learning Torah end up adulteresses. Why? Because she learned Torah, she kept going to Shulei Torah, she ended up meeting another guy at the Shul Torah that's also looking to learn Torah too. He found favor in her eye, she found favor in his eye, and both of them forgot that they were married. Hashem Yishmor v'Yatzil. Both of them forgot they were married to other people. Or worse yet, she became a girlfriend of the rabbi, like happened in London. In London, this thing happened. The married woman became a girlfriend of one of the Dayanim over there. Hashem Yishmor v'Yatzil. And all types of horrible things. Or you have women that simply, they decide they became the rabbi. They go, they start some YouTube channel or some Facebook page, and they start giving you their divrei Torah. What about your husband? Has he learned Torah? No, he is not interested. Instead of spending time doing YouTube videos and Facebook groups, sharing your Torah wisdom, you should somehow convince your husband with all of your energy and all of your efforts to learn instead of you doing it. Now, surely you're obligated to learn Torah, the basics, but it's not more than your husband. It's not more than your husband. It's not more than your kids. But unfortunately, people, somehow they make their own math, and the best part yet, they think that they're righteous, especially when they go against rabbis. And they say, no, this rabbi, don't listen to him. He's a faker. How did you know he's a faker? Yeah, he rebuked me. And I think he's part of the Erev Rav because he rebuked me. He didn't like my idea. Unfortunately, Rabotai, women that do not understand their role in the world, they get so confused, they turn into, unfortunately, the opposite of what they're supposed to. Torah is supposed to make you more modest. Torah is supposed to make you more holy. It's not supposed to put you in a position where you're forgetting what your job is in life, and you are forgetting that your husband is supposed to be learning the dominant part of the Torah. Now, of course, many times, the salvation for the husband comes through his wife, where Kadosh Baruch Hu sends him a tzadikah, that she's interested in Torah, while he's not interested in Torah. So it's good that she learns the Torah, it's good that she's interested in it, but again, she always has to remember, the goal is not just for me to learn, the goal is for me to use this learning to somehow entice my husband to do it also. Somehow remind my husband that he's supposed to do it. How often? As often as you can. So, honey, you want to come to the shul? No. Okay. Honey, you want to come to the shul? No. Stop asking. Okay. Honey, you want to watch a shul, but no going. Watch it on YouTube? No. Okay. Honey, did you watch the YouTube I sent you? No. Stop sending it. Okay. Honey, come over here for a second. What? I want to show you something. What? What do you want? Oh, come on. Play. All right, what do you think? Oh, before you know it, he's watching it. Try. Different. Sometimes it's you have to do women things in order to get the men out of the garbage that their mind is in. But you got to do it. Do not think for a moment that you learning Torah as a wife is going to somehow compensate and fix your husband. He has to learn. So the goal of a woman learning Torah is two part. One, for her to know the basics. Two, to get her family in line. If it's just the woman learning and the husband stays in Am Haaretz, the kids are practically secular, they're dating goyot, you're not doing your job. Now, of course, your local rabbis are going to love you. Why? Rabbis love women that are watching their shulim. You know why? They're the best audience in the world. Women, I'm telling you, are the best audience in the world. First of all, if you speak a few things that are good, they already give you compliments. They're much more generous in compliments than the guys are. You pretty much have to bring Moshe Rabbeinu to the lecture before they give you a compliment. So, number one, they're very... Two, if it's a live lecture, you see women sometimes get emotional and start crying, which is like, wow, I'm so good. I got, my story's so good, this woman started crying. So they're already a better audience. But best yet, typically they're loyal. Typically, they watch a shiur, they like a rabbi, and they'll listen, they'll ask questions, and so on. Guys, unfortunately, not always the same. So they're the best. But But if the rabbi is not telling you what I just said, which is get your husband to start learning, he's not doing his job. The rabbi is not doing his job. Why? Because it's important for your husband to learn with more than it is important for you to learn. And unfortunately today, you have certain people that call themselves rabbis that have decided that the audience is more important than the laws of the Torah, and they give lectures to women only on a regular basis. Now, to give a lecture, men and women, different sides, perfectly fine. To give a lecture just to men, perfectly fine. To give a lecture to women randomly, okay. If you are a tzaddik, you know how to protect your eyes, maybe you can even bring your wife to that's fine. You know, some people will allow you to do such a thing. But to give a lecture to the same group of women on a regular basis, you're not going to find a posek to allow you to do that. But you are going to find so-called rabbis doing it. You're not going to find a posek that allows you to do such a thing. You're not going to see a Rav Ovadia say that. You're not going to see a Rav Elyashiv do that. You're not going to see anybody do that on a regular basis. Same group of women on a regular basis every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, every Friday. Same group of women show up to the shiur with Rabbi such and such. You're not going to find a posek to allow you to do it. But you will find people that call themselves a rabbi doing it. How come? Because women are the best audience. They do not have a yetzirah the same like a guy does. As far as coming to the Shiur Torah. Women here, Shiur Torah, okay, we're coming. You know what? I'm going to ask a few of my girlfriends to come too. Guys, you called them for a month and a half straight. Listen, I'm having a Shiur on the 27th. You coming? I'm having a Shiur on the 27th. You coming? I'm having a Shiur next week. You coming? I'm having a Shiur in a few hours. You coming? 500 times you ask them and they still don't show up sometimes. And if they show up, it's almost like they did you a favor and they came by themselves. Why? They have a bigger yetzirah. To fill up a room with 100, 200 women, world of difference, than to fill up a room of even 20 guys. Why? Yetzirah is different. Yetzirah is different. Hence the reason why these people, they want an audience. They don't want tshuva. They want an audience. They figure, listen, I'm going to give a shiur to the same group of women. Why? Because I like it that every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday that I show up, 200, 300 women show up. I'm not saying for the guys not to come. It just so happened that only 200 women show up. Babkish, you're not doing your job as a rabbi. Who says you're allowed to give a shiur to the same group of women? Why? Why not? Because if you see the same group of women on a regular basis, and they see you on a regular basis, the connection becomes much more than rabbi and student. And it could create problems. There was somebody here in Florida, not too long ago. Rav Meir Eliyahu told him, you are giving shiur to women on a regular basis. Who gave you permission to do that? The rabbi said to Rav Meir Eliyahu, who says I have to listen to you? I'm okay. Before you know it, he was caught sinning with one of the women in his regular audience. Of course, he ran away from Florida to Canada, and before you know it, he got caught with another woman that was actually a best friend of his daughter in Canada. Why? Doesn't want to listen to the halacha, doesn't want to listen to the poskim, doesn't want to listen to the chachamim, wants to listen to himself. He wants an audience. So again, a person needs to know that Torah is important for everybody. But there is certain priorities. There is a first, there is a second, there are priorities. So a woman is important for her to learn Torah, the things that we said. A woman, it's important for her to pray, the things that I said. But she also has to know that her goal is twofold. Her goal is twofold, where she has to make sure that she brings her husband, her kids along. She brings them, not forget them behind. She has to bring them. She has to work hard to bring them. And if she does that, then she's praiseworthy and our deeds are praiseworthy and she's good. And also I highly recommend women that are attending shiurim where it's all women, to not attend those shiurim if they're regular shiurim. Meaning if there is every Tuesday night, same group of women with the same rabbi, highly recommend you stop going to those shiurim. Why? It's problematic. It's problematic because, I'm telling you, there are many, many problems that come out of those shiurim. It may not be you, it may not even be the girlfriend that you're going there with, but certainly it could be somebody, and certainly it has been somebody at some point. If there are men and women, and they're both in different size, and there's a mechitza, there's modesty there, and so on, that's better. That's better. But for a whole group of women to be with one rabbi, he has to be a tzaddik if he's doing it randomly once in a blue moon. To do it on a weekly basis is very problematic, according to all opinions. But again, you'll see today many, many lecture events just for women. Women-only event with Rabbi Stevenson or whoever else is doing. I don't know who Stevenson is. I just created that name. Rabbi Jacobson, Rabbi Menes, Rabbi this one, Rabbi that one. A women-only event every Tuesday night. Don't attend those places. Don't attend those places. They're very, very problematic. Now also, another thing I'd mention, since we're already talking about Shiurei Torah, is that remember that when you go to a Shiur Torah, it's not to socialize. It's not to socialize, it's to learn. So if you're going to a Shiur Torah, go there with a mission. Go there with a notebook, go there, write some notes, go there, take some ideas, and run home. Don't go there and start socializing, and before you know it, you met another guy, or you met another this. It's not a networking event. Shiurei Torah are not networking events. They're not a shidduch show. Which brings me to the next point, which is all of these so-called events that different communities are doing, where they're having a shidduch opportunity for the community, where young men and women are brought under the same roof to go meet each other. This is no different than a nightclub, and if anything, it's much worse. Do not attend any of these events. A shidduch in Judaism is not conducted in such a fashion. It's not conducted in such a fashion. Shidduch is one-on-one. It's not an event. It's not an event. If it's an event, it's not Jewish. So again, this is different than what most of us, if not all of us, grew up with. But nonetheless, this is how you keep yourself kosher for Pesach and for the rest of the year. Next question. During the Seder, it says in the Haggadah that the shank bone represents the Korban Pesach. Of course, this is just a symbolic on a table. We do not eat the shank bone, and fikoman is a symbol of the Korban that we do eat at the end of the meal. Please forgive me, Rabbi, but I do not understand why you said last week, what I said last week. Okay, can you clarify? Are we allowed to say that this is a symbol of the shank bone? Okay, so the shank bone, when you point at it, you don't pick it up, because if you pick up the zroa, it's called in Hebrew, or if you pick it up, that's in essence sanctifying it. So you're not allowed to pick it up. Whereas when you do it with the matzah, you do pick up the matzah, and with the maror, you do pick up the maror, and you say zeh. This is a commemoration of such and such. But with the zroa, you don't pick it up, you just point at it. You point at it and you do not eat it. You do not eat the zroa. Okay? Now, the afikoman is a commemoration, not of the Korban Pesach, of the Korban Chagiga. It's a different Korban altogether. So this is a completely different thing. And that, again, that is something you pick up. And after you eat the afikoman, you're not allowed to eat anything for the rest of the night. So the bone shank, you point at, and you say commemorate it, but you do not eat it. You do not eat it. If you made some type of piece of meat that you want to eat, then you cannot say that this is a meat for commemoration of Pesach. You want to make meat to eat, no problem. Don't put it on the table during the Seder. Put it as part of the meal. Don't make that the bone shank. That's in essence what I was telling you, because there is a custom that is widely spread among Am Yisrael, especially Israelis from my generation and before, where they would actually make the bone shank from lamb, and they would actually say, "This is for Pesach," and this, and they would eat it as their meal, which are both forbidden things. You're not allowed to eat it, and you're not allowed to say it's for Pesach. So this may not apply to you because this custom may not have been in your life, but it is a very common custom, and it's a wrong custom. It's a wrong custom. Is the Bezrat Hashem Agadah a Sephard or Ashkenaz? The Bezrat Hashem Agadah is Sfardi. If you leave a stovetop burner on for Yom Tov, can you use it on Shabbat by putting food directly on the fire? Only if it's covered. If it's covered, not if it's not covered. So, for example, if it's similar to a blech or a hot plate, and it's covered fire, then that's what you could do. But if it's open fire, like you have during the rest of the week, then no, not allowed to use it. Can Tani Dibur counteract the effects of excessive talking? You taught us that one who talks excessively gets kafakela. Kosher fun in Florida for Chol HaMoed is a place like Dave and Buster's allowed. Oh, so these are a couple of questions. So Tani Dibur, counteracting excessive talking, sure. I mean, if a person, starts learning Torah without speaking anything mundane, only learning Torah for a certain amount of time every single day, they'll start recognizing the value of their words, and certainly it can help with excessive talking, both that you've done and that you do, because the less a person talks, the more that they can learn, the more that they can think, and the more they start evaluating their words, before they say them. In regards to kosher fun in Florida, I guess different age groups have different things. David Buster's, I think, is a place that has all these games and pinball machines and things like that. Yeah, I mean, you're allowed to technically go to a place like that. Just watch your eyes and don't look at everybody that's walking around you. Enjoy the games. You're allowed to do that if that's what it is. I think it's like games and things like that. That's fine. There's also people that like to go paintball or air gun places, shoot each other with these air guns or paintballs. That's also allowed. Some people go with motorcycles and all these cars, or they go to in Florida, they go to the marshes where they go and in these lakes or whatever with crocodiles and stuff like that on these boats. I have a friend that's what he does. He's on these boats. He's one of the guys that rides the boats. So there's plenty of things to do. You go fishing. Fishing is fun for people, or you could do, learn Torah, but it depends on a person. But there's plenty of things that a person can do. My recommendation is to not go to places that for sure are going to have immodesty. Like, for example, going to like a Disneyland, I think is a bad idea. Because even though they have a lot of things that technically you're allowed to do, these machines, those roller coasters and all those things, I mean, there's nothing forbidden about them. People sometimes need some adrenaline, but the problem is that the people that go there, typically they look not so different from the people that go to the beach. So it can be hard for a young man to protect his eyes in such a place. So you have to, it's better that you go to places where it's going to be less challenging. So I guess kind of think through who is going to be the people that are there. And also it depends on what you like. But you're allowed to have fun. You're allowed to do a lot of things. There's plenty of things to do everywhere, not just in Florida, everywhere. There's lots and lots of things to do that are kosher, that are fine. But at the same token, the Yetzer Hara also wants to have fun. So wherever you go, he's going to come with you. You just have to be prepared ahead of time to know that there are certain places that will be more challenging, certain places that are less challenging, certain places that are allowed, certain places that are allowed but not recommended, and certain places that are forbidden under all circumstances. So going to the beach where it's mixed, men and women, that's forbidden under all circumstances. Okay? Going to the beach where it's just men and one side and just women on the other side, that's allowed. There's a going to movies, forbidden under all circumstances. But getting a bunch of your friends together to watch a movie, Torah movie, allowed and recommended. Going so there's a lot of different things that a person can do. You should. Go ahead. Plenty of things to do. What was life like for an average Jew during the 40 years in the desert? I assume their main activity was just Torah study. Not necessarily. I mean, they aside from learning Torah, they had a family, they had kids, they had to take care of these kids, they had to feed them, they had to play with them, they had to teach them, they had to spend some time with their wife, they had to give her some attention, they had to sometimes probably take her out, probably got into some arguments with some people, probably had to work a little bit to make tools and build things. People did stuff. It's not the same as it is outside of the desert when we actually had to sustain ourselves, but surely people still delved into other things that they would deal with. But I think that the marriage and the relationship and differences and debates and arguing and celebrations, all of that is part of humanity, needless to say, part of the Jewish life before Mount Sinai, during the desert, and after. But there are certain things that were unique for that time, which are some of the things I described earlier. What is the current parashat reading this week? No, there's no parasha for this week. Just the haftarah. And there is in your Siddur, you'll see that there is a daily reading that you read every day during Pesach. Every day there's a different Torah reading during the days of Pesach. Also, during your prayer throughout Pesach, you'll have to say Ya'aleh v'yavo in every Amidah, and also in Birkat HaMazon, you'll have to say Ya'aleh v'yavo. If you forgot to say Ya'aleh v'yavo during your Amidah, you have to do the whole prayer all over again. If you completed the Amidah without saying Ya'aleh v'yavo for the Pesach edition, then you have to do the whole prayer all over again. You also have to say the Hallel during the Chol HaMoed. Every single day you have to say the Hallel. The prayers are, I guess, slightly longer, but because you have the extra readings. But you don't put on tefillin. You don't put on tefillin during Pesach and during Chol HaMoed. But it's certainly a time for a person to learn more Torah, spend some time with the family, relax. As a side note, I will not be giving lectures during that week, next week. I got to spend a little time with the family, re-energize a little bit, try to learn a little bit. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I'll be back after the Chag giving shiurim, especially with the event that's happening right after the Chag. As soon as we find out the location, we will let everybody know. We're still intending on doing the event, we just don't know exactly where it's going to be yet. We should find out soon, Be'ezrat Hashem. First one was a dream. Second is reality, because Hashem has mercy. Yes. How does one get to the level of Rabbi Yaron Shlita? Don't aspire to be like me. Aspire to be much better. Much better, and you can be. It just skipped. Sorry, I missed. Which question did I? Where did it go? Okay, I did this one. When you guys ask more questions, the screen jumps. Is this a dream? I'm just tuning in. I cannot believe it. Breaking news. This about Arab wanting to attack. Oh, yeah. Baruch Hashem. That's what. Okay, so that's what you said. That. Okay, fine. Question: are pistachios allowed to be eaten on Shabbat, and why? Yes, pistachios are allowed to be eaten on Shabbat, but you have to eat them in a certain way. If you're eating pistachios that the factory has already taken the shell off of it, then you have no problem. If you are eating the pistachios that still have the shell on them, then you have to eat them in a certain fashion where you have to avoid making the sin of borer, which is separating the bad from the good. So the way to eat pistachios or sunflower seeds is as follows. You have two bowls. One bowl has the bulk of the pistachios that you want to eat, and one bowl has just a few that are good, okay, that still have the pistachio in them, but not many, 2, 3 good ones. Now, when you take one of the good pistachios from the bowl that has the majority of them, or the bag, whatever you want, you take it, you break it, and you put the shells in the same bowl of the ones that are good. Not the one that has all the good ones, but the ones that has just a few good ones. And don't eat the ones that are good in that bowl. Throw all the shells in there. Why? Because that way you you're technically not separating the bad from the good, because you're actually taking this bad, but you're putting it with more good. So that's one way that you could eat them. Another way is you could also just buy, the pistachios or sunflower seeds that were already, the peel or the shell was already taken off by the factory. That's another way. But the reason why is because there's an halacha on Shabbat that you're not allowed to separate the bad from the good. It's an halacha that you're not allowed to do that, so because that's one of the 39 melachot that is forbidden on Shabbat. Nikolai is asking, I hear people saying you shouldn't be happy for the destruction of the wicked, and that's why we pour wine in the Seder. What's the source for that? That's incorrect. We are supposed to be happy with the destruction of the wicked people. Am Yisrael sang. There's a special song that you sing on during the Seder. The Az Yishir Moshe. Az Yishir Moshe Ubnei Israel. This is a song that Am Yisrael was singing in celebration of the destruction of the Egyptians. The whole Seder is about the celebration of destruction of the wicked Egyptians. It's that the angels were forbidden from celebrating the destruction of the wicked. But we are supposed to be happy with the destruction of the wicked because their destruction was our salvation. So whoever told you that is incorrect. As far as pouring the wine is one of the customs that we have in the Agadah. You pour the wine 16 times. 16 times you have to pour the wine. There is the acronym of the makot. You have the makot themselves. You have to pour the wine each time, and then you have the second acronym. So the 16 times that you pour the wine. After you pour the wine 16 times, typically it should be into a broken bowl, and then you pour that wine into into the sink. Don't pour it outside because it's Shabbat. And you don't want to make a melacha, and so pour it in the sink, and then the cup that you use to pour all that wine. Typically, you're supposed to use the same cup to pour all 16 times, and it's the last one is supposed to empty out the cup. After you empty out the cup, wash the cup, and then pour your next glass for the Seder. Then you pour the next glass for the Seder, but that's 16 times. But again, as far as saying that we're not supposed to celebrate the destruction of the wicked Egyptians, whoever said that is incorrect. Unless they're assuming that you are an angel. And if you are an angel, which is very much possible, it would just be nice to know if you're an angel, because then I could tell people that there's an angel that watches my lectures and is part of the organization and is amazing and so on. So unless you're an angel, which is very, very possible, then that's why they're telling you that you're not supposed to be happy that the wicked are destroyed, because the angels are not. But us, Am Yisrael, humans, we're supposed to be happy. Lubavitcher Rebbe video on faith says to thank for the bad. Apply gamzu letova, but also have faith, bitachon, that there will be revealed good. Is that the position you agree with? It's not the position that I agree with. It's a position of the Torah itself. The Gemara, Masechet Brachot, at the end of the Masechet, and also the Shulchan Aruch, Paskin La'alacha, and so does the Rambam talk about it. And it's across all of Klal Yisrael. This is not necessarily a chidush of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. This is halacha. This is the Gemara. This is everything. This is the foundation of Judaism, that we are supposed to thank Hashem for the good and for the bad. And for the bad just as much. Why? Because everything that He does is the best. Meaning the good is the best and the bad is the best, because the bad is really the best, the circumstance we have if we truly knew what our other choices are and what Hashem has planned for us. So it's this is what we're all supposed to believe. All of us believe. It's what I believe, Baruch Hashem, and what you're supposed to believe, regardless. This is basics of the Torah. Next, can a Noahide attend a Seder if he was invited? Technically, a Noahide is not supposed to be invited to a Seder because it's the Seder is for Jews. It's not for Noahides, it's not for non-Jews. Even if the non-Jews are very nice people, they're not supposed to, a Jew is not supposed to invite non-Jews to the Seder. But if the Noahide or the Gentile is just shows up uninvited, it's allowed for the Jew to host him if he thinks there will be danger, if he doesn't, and so on. But for an average person, an average Jew, to invite an average Noahide to a Seder is not it's not the right path. It's not the right approach. In fact, there is a halacha that you're forbidden from giving matzah that you don't want to eat. Let's say you have some, matzah, the leftovers. Let's say you bought some matzah. You ate the matzah that you're obligated to eat for the Seder, which on the Seder you have to eat matzah shmura, whereas the rest of the Seder you could eat matzah ashira. Translation in simple terms, for the Seder itself, you have to eat either the round matzahs that were handmade, and for the rest of Pesach, you could either eat those matzahs or you could eat the square matzahs that are machine-made matzahs. But if somebody, let's say for example, bought more of the round matzahs than he actually ended up needing, and he doesn't really like matzah, and he says, you know what, I'll give it to my friend who is, he's a nice Gentile that likes Torah. He's a good guy. He even donates to Bezrat Hashem. I like him. He's a wonderful guy. And he wants to give it to him. Not allowed. Not allowed. Why? Because not allowed. It's not what we do. You could do a lot of things to help the Jews and the Gentiles. But there are certain things that have to separate us. And we can never, as Jews, make the Gentiles believe that we are equals in everything. We're equals in many things. We're not equals in everything. There is a significant difference between Jews and Gentiles. So if you make equals in everything, intermarriage is inevitable. And the same token, it's not good for the Gentile to think that he is equal with the Jew, because that will discourage him from desiring to become a Jew. It's the Chachamim during the times of the Gemara encouraged conversion. Whoever had the courage to do it, they wanted converts. Righteous converts, although they're hard to find, if you can get a righteous convert, it's the greatest person on earth. If you make the Gentile feel that it's okay for them to be a Gentile, and God loves them the same, and you love them the same, and you could treat them the same, and they could stay the same, then you're killing that person technically, because they'll say, oh, if I'm the same, then why should I convert? So it is important for you to know that, yes, there is a difference. So you don't get too comfortable with the Gentile and start thinking that it's okay for you to marry them or your kids to marry them. And secondly, it's also not good for them to think that they're in the same ballpark, because that's simply not true. Even in our Siddur, our daily prayers, in the beginning of the prayer of Shachrit, we say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself says that there's a difference between the Jews and the Gentiles, and so on. This is not an insult, it's just simply a reality, but it's also good for the Gentile to know that there is a difference, and it's a difference that they can do something about. If they choose to, they want to convert, they can become even better than a natural born Jew. But the second that the Gentile feels that they're already in the same level as a Jew, and they're not actually a Jew, they technically can become much more likely to become problematic. Much more likely to become problematic. There are sometimes people that they start off with a path to convert to Judaism because they like the Torah, but then they start comparing their passionate desire to Torah in comparison to, let's say, secular Jews or halfway religious Jews that are not really desiring to be part of the Torah, and they start criticizing them, thinking that they are in the same level and they're better, and sometimes it ends up causing the Gentile that was actually on the path to become a Jew to turn into an anti-Semite. And I'm not telling you this theoretically, I'm telling you this from actual, I've seen this in my own eyes, where you have certain people that start off the path the right way, they want to become a Jew, only to end up as an anti-Semite. And sometimes an anti-Semite that learns Torah. And sometimes an anti-Semite that doesn't learn Torah. But nonetheless, an anti-Semite. Why? They start thinking, well, I'm the same thing. Why? Because I learned Torah, and they should learn Torah. I like Hashem, and even more than them. So they start thinking, I'm the same. It's not the same. Not the same. Again, I know some of you are going to be offended. Be offended. This is not about you being offended. This is the truth. You want to know, you want to see for yourself? Open any Siddur. Open any Siddur. Read what the Siddur says with an actual translation of what it says. Read what it says. Read the Torah itself. Read what it says. Now again, this is for everybody's benefit. This separation is for everybody's benefit. As politically incorrect as it is, we're not here to be politically correct. We're not here to get fans. This is for everybody's benefit. Why? Because when the Jews think that they are the same as the non-Jews and treat them as equals and invite them to dinners and to the Seder, and they have their best friend come to every Shabbat meal even though he's not Jewish, and so on, what happens? Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah says they're bound to get intermarried. Bound to Jew and Gentile, commingling too far. On the other hand, if the Gentile thinks he's the same as the Jew, it'll eliminate his desire or her desire to become a Jew. And it could even lead them to become Jew haters. This is a reality. I've seen this with my own eyes. I've seen this with my own experience. And of course, I've read this in books. So it's important for us to know that if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote it, if the Chachamim wrote it, it's 100% true. It's validated. It's checked. It's emet, and there's nothing else we can do about it. And that's why the reality is what's written in the Torah, not necessarily what we see in our day-to-day life or what we think, our feelings. So it's important for people to know that there is a difference, and a person that wants to protect themselves and also protect the Gentile from destroying themselves will not invite a Gentile to their Seder. Will not invite a Gentile to their Seder because it's simply not appropriate for them to be there. You can invite them to your birthday party. You can invite them even to a Shiur Torah that's only going to talk Musar. You can invite them to a lot of things. But to a feast, a holiday, it's not allowed. Simply not allowed. It's not recommended. It's not allowed. They're asking, well, if someone doesn't like the taste of plain salt and gets nauseous from this taste, do they still have to have their piece of challah dipped in salt on Shabbat? Not necessarily. You don't have to. I mean, salt technically is almost in every food in the world, but you could put less in there. I mean, I don't know how much salt you put on the challah, but typically there's such little salt that's you can barely taste it. But if it creates a health issue or something like that, then no, you don't have to put salt. The bread is the main thing. In our house, we have the custom to put the wine on pinky and onto a napkin. What does that mean, wine on pinky? And onto a napkin. Is this a problem with dyeing the napkin on Shabbat? I'm sorry, I just don't know what I don't know what that means, putting wine on a pinky. Oh, you mean like your fingernail? Custom to put the wine in it. You're putting wine. Oh. So this gula where you. Why is it on Shabbat though? Usually it's part of the Havdalah. You dip it into the cup and then you put it over here on your head or here for mercy, here for I don't know, wisdom and different things. That's gula. That's what you're talking about. That's typically done on Havdalah. It's not done on Shabbat typically. It's usually done on Havdalah. You do it on a Seder, yeah, that's fine. You're putting it over here. I mean, I don't know how much. You're not really putting much to do that. And anyway, if you're wiping your hands, you don't have to worry about it being dyeing the napkin, because your intention when you're wiping your hand is not to dye the napkin. Your intention is to clean your hand. The fact that the napkin becomes a different color is not something you benefit from. So it's not a chilul Shabbat. It's not a problem. The 80% of the Jews that died in Egypt have merit to come back in reincarnation. They already came back in multiple reincarnations. They were already here before the reincarnation, meaning the generation the people that died in Egypt were already here beforehand. They were the generation of the flood. The Arizal and Shar Gilgulim says, I believe it's, I'm not going to guess, Shar Gilgulim, that's where it is. I think it's in the 21st chapter, but I may be wrong. 7 or 21 jumps at me, but either way, Shar Gilgulim of the Arizal says that the generation of the flood reincarnated. Sodom and Gomorrah reincarnated the ones, Egypt, where they died over there. And of course, reincarnated again because they didn't fix their tikkun. But who are these people? Gemara Masechet Chagiga says that there is the Erev Rav. These are the worst of the worst that have to come in every generation, and they part of them with them, a big part of them with them, and they have to. Hashem has to distribute them into every generation. In essence, sprinkle them like salt, like the salt you're supposed to sprinkle on the challah. Sprinkle them in every generation, because if you put all of them in one generation, it would simply destroy the world. But these Erev Rav, these evil neshamot, were, they were supposed to come all at once at the beginning of the world. But Hashem saw that the world could not exist with all of them at one time. So he has to sprinkle them throughout all the generations. And they come in every generation, as we see, unfortunately, in the world today, no less than other times. This year the Seder is on Shabbat. Yes, it starts Friday night. Friday night, you after you pray at the Beit Knesset, you say Hallel, you come back home, you start off with the Kiddush, and then the Kiddush goes right into the Seder. So your first cup of the is the Kiddush cup, okay, and then you go to the whole Seder. Now, since we all live in the exile, or most people that are watching this live in the exile, that means we have 2 Leila Seders, and the second Seder is no less than the first Seder. So the second night is Saturday night. So that means that Saturday night, it does not become a weekday. It's still Chag. So that means that on Saturday night, after you pray Arvit, you go and say Havdalah, and the Havdalah, first of all, the Havdalah candle cannot be lit at that time. You already have to light a candle before Shabbat. That's a 24-hour or 48-hour candle that you'll use that to light the Yom Tov candle and the Havdalah candle on Motzei Shabbat, fire to fire. You can't light a new fire on Motzei Shabbat now because it's 2-day Yom Tov. So that means that you're on Motzei Shabbat, you start off with Havdalah and you say, Amavdil ben Kodesh le Kodesh. So from holy to holy, and that goes straight into the Agadah. It's not separate. It's part of your Agadah. We'll have, in the beginning of the Agadah, we'll have 2 options, or technically 3 options. One option is to start off the Agadah from the beginning of the Agadah, okay, as if it's a weekday. Second option is to add the prayer of the Kiddush because it's Shabbat, which is what the case is this year. And the third option is to add, as the beginning, is the Havdalah, and then goes into the Agadah. All of that is in the beginning of the Agadah. All of that is in the beginning of the Agadah. Just pick the right option, obviously. And then you have Yom Tov continues until Sunday night. Then you have Chol HaMoed. Chol HaMoed is a holiday that simply you're allowed to do things that you're not allowed to do on Yom Tov, but nonetheless, you're not supposed to go back to work unless your work is Torah, or you would lose your job or lose money as a result of not working. You're not supposed to work on Chol HaMoed. The Gemara in Masechet Moed Katan says a person that dishonors the Moed, meaning the Chol HaMoed, has no share of the world to come. So do not go back to work if you don't have to on Chol HaMoed. During that time, you should spend some time learning Torah, spend some time with your family, have fun, kosher fun nonetheless. Then you have Yom Tov begins again on Thursday night. Okay, on Thursday night you have Yom Tov, and this time Yom Tov, if you're going to cook on Friday for Shabbat and Yom Tov, then you have to do Iruv Tavshilin before on Thursday. On Thursday you have to do Iruv Tavshilin. So that's also you have to take into account. And then the holiday is over. After Shabbat, the holiday is over. So before you know it, the holiday starts, and before you know it, we're already missing it because we have to wait a whole year for it. I mean, for the makot from the wine, you dip your finger in the wine after you poured it? I've never heard of that. If you're saying you're supposed to pour the wine 16 times. And after you pour the wine 16 times, you're supposed to pour it out. You're saying that your custom is to have you dip your pinky in it and do what exactly? I'm not familiar with that custom. Typically, it's poured out. It's discarded. It's not favorable. It's discarded. So I'm not familiar with that custom. I heard that there's a tikkun to scream vanitzak during the Agadah for blessing. Tikkun to scream vanitzak during the Agadah. I'm not familiar with such a tikkun. There are many customs. Some have Torah sources. Most of them don't. Quite frankly, I'm not a fan of encouraging people to scream and act in such fashion, just because it's more times than not they're not going to get the real meaning of behind it. Like vanitzak is really supposed to be, if you're ever going to scream it out of anguish, out of yearning for Hashem. But in today, the generation that we have, people tell people to scream, and people are going to compete who's louder, meaning they have no connection whatsoever to what the meaning behind vanitzak has anything to do with anything. So I wouldn't recommend it altogether. Question, Isabel is asking if we will walk to a friend's home for both Seders and come back to sleep at our house. Do we still light candles at our home? Yes, you still have to light candles at your home. Yes. Before you go. Before you go. Okay, Rabotai. Baruch Hashem, we finished all the questions. Thank you very much for learning with me. I appreciate it very, very much. You know what? I'll give you guys a story that I heard from Rav Shvadron. Rav Shvadron, that puts everything into perspective of everything we heard tonight. There was a Rav Shvadron writes that there was years ago there was a guy named Yaakov. He was a butcher, and he was a righteous guy, tzaddik. Gave tzedakah, did chesed, was an honorable person, yireh shamayim, and he was a butcher. And one day, this Yaakov has a dream that he's leaving work, and a woman that doesn't look like she's in such good shape says to him, please, can you please shecht my chicken? And Yaakov says, no, I'm sorry, it's almost Chag. I have to get ready. I have to leave. I have to, go to the mikveh and then go home. He says, yeah, but please, I have to, I don't have anybody else to do it. He said, I'm sorry, I can't check your chicken right now, go all the way back to work, and, it's going to delay me. I have to go and do it. Why don't you come earlier? She says, I couldn't because when I went to the market, the guy wouldn't, wanted too much money. I didn't have the money to pay for it. And then I looked to get any ways to get the money. Finally, as the day passed, the guy ended up giving it to me for a low price that I could afford. So now I finally got the chicken, but if I'm not going to have this chicken, my kids are not going to have any food to eat. Please, help me. He says, I'm sorry, lady. And he passes by her, and he goes to the mikveh, and goes back to his house. And then he suddenly opens his eyes and sees Gehenom. And Gehenom is atrocious. And he's being told, you are going there. Why? Why do I have to go there? I kept Torah, I kept mitzvot. You're going there. Just decide if you want to go there for 30 days or you want to fix your sin by coming back to life. Again, for a whole life. But why am I going there? You're going there. Why? Because of what you did to this woman. So he starts crying, and before you know, he wakes up. And he realized the whole thing was a dream. It says, strange dream, but it's a dream. And the Gemara itself says that most dreams are nonsense. But this dream was kind of weird because it kind of felt real. Anyway, as you would have it, he goes back to his life. 20 years pass. 20 years pass. He's already an older man. He's still working. Unlike this generation where people are looking to retire, the earlier the better. People worked. People learned. People functioned. And weren't looking for a break. And this Yaakov, finishes work one day. He's getting ready for the Chag. And on his way to the mikveh, he sees poor woman, says, please, help me, shecht my chicken for me. Just like in his dream. Only he forgot about the dream. And Yaakov says, I'm sorry, lady, I have to go. I have to go to the mikveh. So it's almost the Chag. She goes, no, but please, I was waiting all day. Listen, you should have come earlier. Yeah, but I couldn't come early because I didn't have the money. But now, finally, after I waited, the guy gave it to me for a cheaper price. I'm sorry, lady, I got to take care. I got to go. You have to come back. Yeah, but I'm not going to have any food for my kids. And he ignores it, and he goes to the mikveh, and he comes back to the house, and he has a kiddush. And as soon as he says the kiddush, all of a sudden, the Token falls in and he realizes what just happened in his life. Oh, to me, oh, to me. I got a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu 20 years ago about what happened today, and I didn't pay attention. He got so scared, he stopped what he was doing, took the chicken that they had, the meat that they had, and got out of the house. Where you going, Abba? I gotta go. I'll be back. I gotta go. And started knocking door to door. Giveret? Oh no, you don't live here? Okay. Door to door, looking for this lady. Every single house until he eventually found her. He says, Giveret, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. I was in a hurry. I'm sorry. Please, please. And he sees the little kids in the house. Nobody has any food. Oh, here, I brought you food. And he gives them a chicken. Like, wow, thank you very much. It's forgiven. Don't worry. He said, no, I'm really sorry that it took delay. I was in a hurry. I'm so sorry. Apologize 1,000,000 times. And gives them the food. Everything is forgiven. He comes home and he explains to his family what happened. Everybody's obviously amazed at this whole thing. No one has much to say. But when he died the next day, they publicized the story. Apparently he had, Baruch Hashem, enough merits in Shamayim for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give him the message. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives all of us messages every single day. The biggest message that we have to understand is that the Agadah is not just stories. It's opportunities to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for everything that he's done, everything that he's doing, and everything that he will do, even before you know what he's going to do. You have to appreciate Hashem. You have to also know that you are in this world to earn your spot. Don't think for a moment that Yaakov can't happen to you. What happened to Yaakov, that's because he was righteous. Still, he almost landed in Dayenu if he didn't have that special miracle happen to him. That happens to a lot of people. Why? Because people are so into themselves, so into what they're doing, they forget that there's other people in the world that they could potentially help, other people in the world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu also loves, other people in the world that they are supposed to do something for in some way or another. A person has to know that tzedakah, chesed, these are things that are not only good things to do, but these are things that are necessary in our lives in order for us to truly serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Be'ezrat Hashem will use all of the teachings we've learned over this last year to help our Seder not only be beautiful, not only be full of Torah, but also full of Kedusha, full of tshuva, our own tshuva, and everybody else that comes along. So Hashem, you all enjoy it, and we'll see each other and learn again together in the new year after Pesach. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen. Shalom v'cha, chaverim ikarim. The Pesach is among us. Of course, everyone understands the dire situation in the world. But from our perspective, the most tragic situation right now is that we have tens and tens of millions of dollars going to foreign countries to help some people that may or may not be our friends and our brothers, may or may not be Jewish, while our own brothers that are, verified our brothers in our backyard in Eretz Yisrael, in the Frum communities, in Bnei Brak, in Tel Zion, in Yerushalayim, in Netanya, in literally every part of Eretz Yisrael are struggling to make ends meet with the skyrocketing inflation in Eretz Yisrael, with the abuse by the government, and more than anything else, by the lack of concern of some of the donors that are out there, where a lot of the money is going to help Ukraine and help a lot of other causes, while the world of Torah and the world of poverty continues to get worse. So we had to take desperate measures in these desperate times, And anyone that saw my shiur saw that we did it just in the last 24 hours. We don't have millions of dollars. We had a few $100,000 in the account, and we simply took almost all of it, and $250,000. We sent it to Rami Levy supermarkets to buy the gift cards. This is the contract with Rami Levy. This is the wire transfer. We have to do 2 wires to save some money from the banks. But the point is that this is enough to feed, probably 8,000 people, 10,000 people, give or take. And we haven't started a campaign. We haven't raised a single dollar. We don't even know if anybody's going to help. All we know is that our brothers don't have money to eat matzah, to buy matzah, to buy the basic needs for Pesach. And some of them work, some of them work and learn. Literally, the struggling is coming from everywhere. So we figured that in order to show Hashem that we love Him, and to show Him that we love His children too, we have to do something that was necessary as part of our love of Hashem, as part of our love of His people. If you want to be partners with us, you're more than welcome to. The campaign is on bhpesach.org. As I said, I already sent the money. If you want to be part of it, you're more than welcome to. If we get more than what we already sent, surely we'll send that too. If we don't get anything, then at least we know that close to 10,000 Jews are going to be able to eat. Either way, you never lose out by doing a mitzvah, and at the very least, we're able to have the merit to do so. We'd love to see you as our partners, as some of you have in the past, and Be'ezrat Hashem will continue to help Am Yisrael both spiritually and physically in any way that we can. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'Amen.
אחיי ואחיותיי היקרים, אנחנו נמצאים כמה ימים לפני חג הפסח של שנת תשפ"ב. אנחנו נמצאים כולנו, כל עם ישראל, בתקופה מאוד 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 לא פשוטה. לא רק שזה אחרי הקורונה ואחרי כל הסכנות שהיו בחשש ההידבקויות הנוראות, התחילה תקופה של פיגועים בארץ ישראל. צערנו התקיים בנו הפסוק, מחוץ תשקר חרב ומחדרים אימה. אנשים מפחדים לצאת לעבוד, אנשים חוששים. כלל גדול לימדו אותנו חז"ל, ותפילה ותשובה וצדקה מעבירים את רוע הגזרה. יש לכם הזדמנות כאן לבוא ולעזור למשפחות נזקקות, משפחות של בני תורה, משפחות של אנשים צדיקים וישרים, שארגון בעזרת השם החליט לבוא ולעזור להם לחגוג את הפסח כבני חורין. בואו והצטרפו אל הזכות הגדולה הזאת, והזכות שלכם בוודאי תעמוד לכם ולהגן עליכם ולשמור עליכם ועל כל אחד ואחת מבני משפחותיכם בכלל כל עם ישראל. כל הצדקה שנתרמת לארגון בעזרת השם הולכת 100% לנזקקים. אין עמלות, אין אחוזים, אין כלום. הכל הולך לנזקקים שיקנו אוכל ויוכלו לחגוג את חג הפסח בשמחה ובדיצה. אהוביי, ההזדמנות הזאת היא הזדמנות מיוחדת שהקדוש ברוך הוא גלגל לידיכם. אל תעמדו מנגד, עלו על העגלה בדרך אל הגאולה. תודה רבה.